Over the past decade, WWE's programming and popularity have gone downhill. While the company is reporting record profits, they are not where they should be when it comes to the wrestling landscape. At one point, it had been one of the most popular forms of entertainment anywhere, with millions tuning in every week to see Stone Cold, The Rock, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, and more. The declining ratings are the clearest indication that WWE is no longer in the same place. This is Wrestling Hub, and here's why WWE is losing so many fans right now. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at WrestlingHubOfficial, and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Vince McMahon is 76, Bruce Pritchard is 58, and Kevin Dunn is around that same age. These are the men who are deciding weekly televised programming content. They don't know what kids like. They have no idea what is popular in the market. They probably think TikTok is the sound clocks make. These are the men whose job it is to make WWE look hip and cool. It's not to say that older people may not be aware of what younger fans like. Triple H is after all 52. However, he knew and made NXT into a brand that fans had faith in, at least until he was moved out of the way and everything he built was destroyed over the course of 3 months. Back in the days of the Attitude Era, the programming was directed towards younger fans, but not children. The officials in WWE have no idea what fans want, so much so that at times it seems they have given up on trying to book altogether. Pritchard and McMahon live in bubbles, where they think booking Goldberg, a 54-year-old WWE Hall of Famer, again and again is the sure way to get fans to tune in. They think that Austin Theory's gimmick of taking selfies is something that's hip and will make him connect with younger fans. WWE has no idea what they're doing now more than ever, but the lack of any and all pop culture references that fans can relate to has been a death knell for many fans. When Vince McMahon told the world wrestling was not real, he was doing it so that he could get out from under the thumbs of the National Athletic Commissions. Vince did not want any sort of oversight on what he was doing, so he broke the rule that had kept wrestling going for so many years. Since then, the secrets of wrestling have spilled. Just because it's not real, however, does not mean it's not fascinating or dangerous. However, everything about wrestling is now known to fans. As Gerald Briscoe recently pointed out, crowds back then didn't know nearly as much as today's crowds. Today's crowds are the most educated. And I'm talking about not just your casual TV viewer. I'm talking about somebody who buys a ticket, goes to the arena, sits down, and watches the matches at a live event. Those people are so much more educated now and have so much more knowledge, not only about the people in the ring wrestling now, but most of them have done research and know about guys like me and knew about guys like my brother. They know a little about it. Fans now know that two wrestlers competing in the ring are actually friends. They know that it's scripted. The promos by WWE stars written by writers who know nothing about wrestling make that even more obvious. With this, there's often a lack of interest unless WWE can put on a product that's fascinating week in and week out. Every month, it's as if there is more wrestling to watch. The amount of wrestling content that's put out on a weekly basis far surpasses the 90s. Even during the Monday Night Wars, fans were watching Raw or Nitro, Thunder, SmackDown, and ECW. Now, the amount of wrestling that a fan can see every week is startling, and is one of the major reasons that WWE is losing fans. Every Monday on YouTube, fans can see AEW Dark Elevation, then there's ROH TV on Fight, although that's going away for Ring of Honor to reinvent themselves. Then there's 3 hours of Raw. On Tuesdays, there's AEW Dark, NWA Power, and NXT. On Wednesdays, there's AEW Dynamite and MLW Fusion. Then comes Impact, NXT UK, and New Japan on Thursdays. Fridays are no better with New Japan Strong, SmackDown, and 205 Live. This is a typical week of pro wrestling. Fans cannot physically keep up with all of it, so they decide which sort of wrestling is to their taste. As a result, WWE often loses out. When you think of wrestling, you may think of John Cena, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Stone Cold, The Rock, etc. These are larger-than-life personalities that exude charisma. This is something that is drastically missing from WWE, and it's not because of the talent. With the roster the company has, there are plenty of stars. WWE has proven that by making Roman Reigns just such a star by booking him consistently for once. Others like Drew McIntyre, Big E, or Kofi Kingston, or even newer stars like Damian Priest just don't have that same presence, and it's WWE's fault. fault. Let's take a look at Damien. The star had a character change where he became a heel. He is supposed to go and battle Shinsuke Nakamura in a champion versus champion bout at Survivor Series. However, for the past 2 weeks, WWE decided to just not show him on TV. With this sort of booking, how will he get over with fans? WWE no longer wants to create that star who would be bigger than the company. Having stars like The Rock, Stone Cold, or even Cena, who the fans chant for, is something they don't want. As a result, they've lost fans and might never get them back unless they can book several wrestlers to that level again. The internet was there back in the days of the Attitude and Ruthless Aggression eras, but it was not available in the way it is now. The more the internet has grown, the more wrestling's viewership has declined, and this has been partially due to all the alternate sources of entertainment. However, fans who love wrestling still return, so they started to look up wrestling online. There they find details of the landscape. With many reporters choosing to talk about wrestling online, secrets of the industry began to come out. Wrestlers who retired went online to talk about the reality of what happened behind the scenes. Surprises that have shocked fans were spoiled before online. While wrestling has certainly had problems over the years, it became a place for people to air their grievances. Some of the issues of wrestling were real, but fans were nitpicking booking and looking to vent their own issues somewhere. A new fan searching about wrestling would not only find inside news, they would then be accosted by gatekeeping fans who would question how could they support anyone. Simply put, the toxic fandom of wrestling on the internet developed in such a manner that it was not really conducive to growth. In contrast, anyone who goes to wrestling shows will know fans there behave differently, and with a few exceptions, still get carried away loving the shows. WWE has created a situation where they cannot survive for long. The 50-50 booking is exactly what has stopped them from creating a star. When it comes to Roman Reigns, he is someone who has won match after match, week after week for a year, and thus is one of the biggest characters. Fans talk about who could beat him. For anyone else, anyone can beat anyone. Wrestlers lose as much as they win. The concept of jobbers and enhancement talent whose main job is to put over other stars has seemingly disappeared. As a result, with everyone needing to win all the time, wrestlers are also losing all the time. The 50-50 booking has put more focus on wins and losses. Before, more than a win or a loss, it was about the story that was told. It often didn't even matter if a wrestler lost if the story was told convincingly. Stone Cold lost a lot of matches, but then he would come back and rain hell down on anyone who had the audacity to defeat him. WWE has really shot themselves in the foot by not even caring the next week what happened last week, and it's almost like they have forgotten how to tell stories. Championships have long since stopped mattering in WWE. There are so many titles that it seems the company cannot keep track of them. If you need an example, only weeks back, WWE booked Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch to exchange their women's titles on TV. Why? Because the SmackDown Women's Champion Becky was on Raw now, and the Raw Champion Charlotte was now on SmackDown. WWE booked themselves into that hole. Why would they associate a title with a brand when they don't need to do that? Imagine in 2002 Brock Lesnar coming with the WWE title from SmackDown and taking the World Heavyweight belt from Triple H and exchanging his own title. Would either star have been okay with that? For years, WWE has made it seem like titles don't matter. The US belt is a prime example of a title that should be retired. There are 2 tag titles, there are 2 women's titles, there are 2 world titles. All of this could be solved easily by having one of each and then having the champion appear on both shows. That's what happened at first, and it made the title the champion and the show seem more important. Something fans tend to forget is that WWE is not our friend. Their main goal has been to make money. Before, they used to do that by telling stories that were unforgettable. It was about keeping fans happy because without them, WWE was not going anywhere. Now the main focus has shifted from fans to investors. The entire point of WWE's existence seems to be keeping investors happy. That's where executives like Nick Khan have come in, with him arbitrarily firing wrestlers from the roster like they were going down a list. Aleister Black was fired a few days after he started a new feud with Big E. What happened to that rivalry? It was never addressed. It's important to remember this version of WWE doesn't care, and that's why they're losing fans. WWE is predictable, and it has been for a while. The company takes no chances. No longer are decisions made like giving McFoley a reign with the title, which swerves everyone. These surprise returns are seen days, weeks, and months in advance. One of the biggest elements in wrestling was for a long time these surprises that the company managed to spring on fans. Now fans know exactly what will happen. Why would fans watch a show where they know what they will get? In a wrestling world where there was no hope for hardcore fans in WWE, they found a bastion in NXT. NXT in 2014, 15, and 16, as well as 2018, was one of the best places to watch wrestling. The reason for this, Triple H hired wrestlers who knew what they were doing and let them be themselves. It was not about fitting into a WWE mold though and make them a generic star. NXT had some of the best matches of the last decade. Sami Zayn vs. Neville, Zayn vs. Nakamura, Bayley vs. Banks. All of these stole the show and demolished any competition. Fans cheered and watched in awe. Wrestling by itself, in its own beauty, seemed to take over. NXT takeovers took over the minds of fans as they watched in disbelief at wrestlers who put everything on the line. It was a love letter to wrestling from the hands of Matt Bloom, Triple H, William Regal, Shawn Michaels, and their ilk. Fans chanted, "Are you watching Vince McMahon?" Unfortunately, with AEW on the scene and NXT on TV, the answer became yes. Suddenly, Vince was watching NXT. Numbers started to matter. It was about competing. A third brand that had been ignored by Vince all these years and reduced to nothing by destroying their stars at different times was blamed for not beating AEW. All these years, he had been content with destroying the worth of the called-up stars from NXT and making them seem like jobbers. Now, he decided to remove Triple H from control and took over NXT with Bruce Pritchard. NXT 2.0 is an insult to the memory of the black and gold brand. Hopefully there will be a rejuvenation of wrestling in WWE, but it's not right now. Wrestling will wake up and look on the carcass of the black and gold brand, raising it from its ashes like a phoenix, but not today. And these were reasons why WWE is losing so many fans. Hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.